Hi, I'm Chris Blackburn.
Hi, I'm Rob Hawks.
And this is Training Tuesday, 30 minutes every week of complimentary practical sales training.
Just so everybody knows who we are, what is it? What are we doing?
Today is Training Tuesday.
Training Tuesday. So I'm Rob Hawks, head of coaching here at ISR Training.
I'm Chris Blackburn. I'm the head of sales here at ISR Training.
There we go. I think they know who we are and where we're from. So today, Chris, what are we going to be covering?
We're actually going to be covering scarcity today. So the main areas that we're going to be covering is what scarcity is.
Yep.
Also 3 reasons why scarcity works, the 3 ways how to build or create scarcity, and then more importantly when and how to actually use it. So Excellent. That's what we're going to be covering today.
Welcome everyone. We've got a couple of people from international as well. Singapore, lovely part of the world. I've been to the airport.
I've done the light show there.
Have you? Oh,
Marina Bay Sands, great place.
What would be really good is if people could just put the industry that they work in. We obviously have some new faces in today, so you just put the industry that you work in. So just as a little bit of an understanding as to who we're dealing with here. While people are doing that, just wanted to say a big congratulations to April Herbert for winning our competition, the VIP tickets to the Swish Summit, and also Patrick Ear as well for winning a general admission. So congratulations to you guys. We'll see you at the Swish Summit on the 21st of May. I'll see you there.
And you as well.
That's it. Absolutely. Okay, so what have we got in here? Oh, April didn't know that, so there you go. April, congratulations, you on the VIP ticket. So you'll be sitting almost up the front with Andrew Banks.
You can see on there on Facebook. We've got Lucas. Hey Lucas, how are we today? We're checking the chat. We've got multiple cameras at us today, so welcome Lucas.
Lucas quit his job last week, so there you go.
Amazing.
He had an awesome job.
Yeah.
Give that bloke a job.
He had an awesome time down in Sydney with Ryan last week as well, so pleasure to have you on as well. Maybe dropping in the chat or Facebook as well today, just in regards with scarcity, what it means to you, but also how do you build that into your sales process. I'd love to know what scarcity means to you as well. So if you can just chop that in the chat, that would be awesome.
We every morning with our training, we actually run it by the team. So we asked this question to the team, and we had a few interesting sort of overriding feelings towards it. So when we say scarcity, what's your explanation, Chris? Explain it to the guys.
So I think for me the first, I guess 3 of the reasons why or the ways. The first one is everybody gets it, and probably just to jot down for your notes as well, is just FOMO. You know, when people have fear of missing out and think they're going to miss a deal, or that, you know, potential opportunity is not going to come again, that's what gets me, FOMO. What about yourself?
So fear of missing out. I think for me, what does scarcity mean? I guess for me it's about the understanding that there's limited. You know, like, I think if you say something's scarce, then I think my mind actually goes zombie apocalypse, and you know, like when the shelves are bare, that's what's scarce. That's where I go. I think I've watched too much Walking Dead, but I suppose the understanding is that there's a lack of something. So I think with everyone industries here, we've got real estate, we've got accounting, health, camping, conference industry, real estate. I think it's all relevant, but there's different versions of it, and that's what we're going to cover today. Understanding that scarce nature of either yourself or the service you provide. That can work in different ways. But go on.
I was just going to say, I think the main thing, just so we can pre-frame this whole session, scarcity and urgency. Everything that we're going to run through today is delivered through our methodology Swish. We never make up unnecessary urgency or scarcity that's not, well, basically that's falsified. So selling with integrity, selling honestly is the way to do business in obviously our eyes as well. So just ensuring that these practicals that we're going to run through today, you're making sure it fits exactly what you offer as a business. So don't be making up things that aren't true.
Yeah, I think that was the big overriding factor this morning, was that people are quite skeptical. So if you're making up false scarcity, then we generally don't believe what we see, and that was what a lot of people were like, not falsifying the level of scarcity around it, because then you lose credibility. That goes back to actually what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago around consistency, is that if you know, for example, with our boot camps, if I've told somebody, well, there is only one seat left and they want to bring 2 people along, I can't now go and say, well, bring the other fella along as well.
We'll find room.
Because that just then negates the whole nature of scarcity.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to be really careful with it. Used effectively, it's very powerful, but used incorrectly, you can definitely lose sales, break a deal, etc.
Absolutely. Why is it, I guess, other areas that's important to you then? Scarcity, urgency. What's another practical way? So fear of missing out. What else would be important to you?
I think being able to deliver it as early as possible.
How do you mean by that?
Well, I think you can't just drop scarcity in at the end. Like, okay, I don't want to come on your boot camp, Chris, and you turn around and go, oh, well, there's only limited seats anyway.
Yeah.
I'll be like, well, great, I don't care. Because, like, take the Swish Summit, for example. You know, if there's limited seating, it just provides an opportunity to show that we're not wanting everybody in the room. And that provides exclusivity. And I think people want to feel like they're getting something that other people aren't. I think,
that
you know,
makes
like
sense.
going to something that not everyone is, I feel exclusive.
So how early on, and I agree with you, I think seeding urgency very early is incredibly practical in sales. How would you recommend the guys to do it? Let's say, for example, I popped in a lead into your website. You was giving me a call to thank me, I'm assuming, to pop in my details. How would you potentially drop that in as a seed before we've even discussed what we're going to offer?
So I did this in a coaching session with Sam Hope, if you're watching, hello mate, for Success Resources. So he, just as an example, he does events with that company, and they have Tony Robbins on their books as one of the speakers. So I suggested to him that in the early rapport building part of the conversation, literally from how are you, to suggest and plant seeds that Tony isn't going to be around for much longer. So it was a kind of like, hi Rob, how are you? Yeah, I'm really well, thanks. I'm really busy at the moment with Tony announcing this is one of the last events he's doing in Australia. We've been flat stick. Well, what about you? How have you been? So within the first 30 seconds, I'm suggesting that there's a level of scarcity around what's available in my offering. And it just builds that straight away.
Yeah.
So that would be important.
Just a quick maybe why in the chat there, if that kind of makes sense for everybody, how to drop that in within the first 30 seconds of any interaction with a potential client. Let's say, for example, a warm lead that comes into your business, how you can actually seed what you guys are doing before you even start the communication. Yeah, Mandy, love that.
So Brandon, for example, we've got somebody who works in distribution of biltong, which is a South African jerky snack. It's not jerky, but some people would know that as what it is. So being able to suggest to retailers that, like the fact that he's been busy is based around the desire for what he has. Like when people say they're busy, a lot of people don't warm to that straight away. So I think when you're specific about why you're busy, I think that would be highly beneficial. For people who work for themselves, I think scarcity around their own time would be also very important. I'm busy. With me, I've been back to back with coaching sessions all day, which would suggest that I place a lot of value on my time. If I emphasize that too much, it can get annoying. So I think it is important that it is done not constantly hammered home. April has said it makes sense, tell the story as normal and communication and rapport building. So just include it in it, move away from it, but it's also important that it's referenced throughout. Like we are referencing that, well, as I mentioned earlier, and it's so that you're constantly reminding that there is, and that also goes for like our accelerator program. I don't know if you want to explain what that is.
So obviously the accelerator program, we're very fortunate to have our 3 investors from Shark Tank mentoring businesses on. We've limited that to 10 business owners around the world, but essentially in Australia, that are willing to, I guess, engage into that. we're not going to then grow that anymore. That's capped to 10 businesses that we work with. So there's exclusivity around the amount of numbers of people that we can actually put that on there. So if there's 9 already on there and we say there's 1 spot available, then there's 1 spot available, and that can then naturally build that up. So if you know, maybe for Rob, like if we knew our conversation was potentially going to be around that program, we could say, yeah, very busy under the pump with the last few spots available on the accelerator. There's a lot of applications coming in, but more importantly, how's your day today?
Yeah.
You're kind of dropping that in really, really early.
But Boris has just commented on Facebook. I don't know, Boris, I don't know if you're in South America. If you are, mate, welcome. I don't know if you're still in Australia.
In the world.
Implied and suggested, but not outright. So yeah, it's something that I think you can be really direct with your scarcity. Like we say, we only have 10, but I think you can also imply it subtly as well, which I think is important.
For sure.
And I think also it's important to understand the type of personalities that you're dealing with it as well. Some people just do not care about that.
No.
Other people do. Some people really do care about missing out on something. Others don't. So I think learning and understanding. We don't have time to go in today, but can that be something that is suggested?
Yeah,
or,
and we'll obviously run through that on another session as well. So we've got FOMO exclusivity. I think the last thing there is everyone loves it, getting a bargain, right? If you feel like you're getting an absolute bargain of a sale, obviously not selling something that's $5,000 and selling it for 27, because that'll do the polar opposite to the whole point of building up scarcity. But are you a bargain hunter?
Oh, I can't say I don't like a bargain. Like, I think if I was in a store, like retail store,
yeah,
and there were like jeans on sale, and there was only 1 pair left, then that scarcity would.
That's exclusivity, right?
Yeah, but it would also be a bargain as well, because if there was a sale on and I knew that the sale was ending soon, then I'd go for the bargain.
Yeah.
But if there's a sale. I don't know if any of you sell in the digital world, but don't have a sale on every 2 minutes, because I don't think you ever. Like, I mean, how many carpet warehouse sales are there closing down?
Yeah.
There's a carpet place in Mermaid that's been closing down for 10 years. I just don't believe it.
Nah.
So, but when it might stop tomorrow.
But then on the flip side to that, if there's too many sales, then you will wait for the next one to then purchase. Is that what you mean? So if they do a sale every fortnight, and you need their product that day, you'll just wait another 2 weeks and then purchase.
I'd never pay full price for it. No, because I know that. Yeah, but then I suppose if you look at Apple, they never discount their prices. So the scarcity in the fact that if there ever was that has its own scarcity involved.
Yeah.
Well, what about in terms of we've highlighted about when, but what other times can you include? When would you include scarcity? Let's say in what you're doing at the moment with the academy and whatnot.
How do you mean by that?
Like, when would you talk about scarcity inside of? How would you deliver, or when would you deliver that in your presentation?
I'd probably look to say, if people are taking notes as well, 3 to 5 times throughout the conversation, because for me, scarcity can only be perceived in the customer's eyes. Let's be honest, we can't build scarcity in what we do. It's got to be built naturally through the conversation, and the customer's got to feel like there's, not even feel like, but know that there is actual genuine scarcity behind the back of that. So I'd probably say 3 to 5 times, but starting within the introduction, as Rob touched on as well. But again, for me, is the most powerful tool of influence in any negotiation or sale that you can use in scarcity. But again, powerful doesn't always mean good, right? So, sometimes you can have very powerful things, but it doesn't mean good, So used obviously effectively, we don't want to be breaking the deal too.
I think but then also, 'cause there's also different ways of delivering it. Again, if people are making notes, there are 3 ways. So there's verbal scarcity, there's tonal scarcity, and then there's informational scarcity. So I'll say those again. There's verbal, tonal, and then informational. Do you want to explain one or all of those?
Yeah, for sure. So verbal, I guess what we'd be looking at is things like power words. So with the limited stock that we've got available, or the limited availability virtually, things like that can really start to allow the customer to build their own scarcity, because what does virtually mean,
Yeah.
or with the limited availability that we've got at the moment, things like that can be very powerful.
And I suppose, like, so my time is limited.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, what does that actually mean?
Exactly.
So it's almost like the scarcity is perceived in the eye of the person. Is that what you meant earlier about
exactly.
So I can't tell you, but you build up in your mind how like scarce my time is based on your perception of it.
Well, when
cool.
somebody goes, there's a sale on for a limited time, you don't know when that sale's going to end, so I will perceive what limited is.
Yeah.
So if I feel like I'm a procrastinating buyer and I'm on the fence and I see a limited sale, I'm kind of like, I'm a bit more intrigued to know what it is. It gets the buy-in. So how would you deliver tonal scarcity?
Well, so out of our, so for those of you that are in our academy, we've just got Lucas joining as well, who's reaffirmed verbal tonal information. Welcome, Lucas. So the tonal side of things, we've got, as some of you may or may not know, we've got 8 macro tones of ways of delivering it. And secrecy tone is how we would deliver it if we were delivering it. Because part of the reason being is because you don't want to be like, you just don't want to say it flippantly. One thing that if you're ever in a face-to-face environment, and this is something that I remember on the boot camp a few years ago, Jack talking about, is like a sly look over the shoulder, like, and I don't know if I should tell you this, but there's only a couple left.
He did that in Shark Tank too, right?
Yeah. And it made me laugh, but I was drawn into it because of the fact that there's only a couple. And if you've got an ability to say like I possibly shouldn't be doing this. If you've got the ability to be able to go above and beyond, and you shouldn't be doing something, like you're going to go above and beyond, you're going to offer somebody something that maybe you don't offer for everyone. Don't just announce it in a normal everyday voice, because it's something that's scarce. So really, you should huddle in. You should lose the tone of your voice should drop a little bit, and we should say, well, there's only a couple left. Like, I shouldn't really be doing this, but I'm going to do that anyway. And that builds the level of excitement into it. We're not going to talk about tone too much, but so scarcity should be delivered in secrecy, although digitally that's different. But if you're face to face or you're over the phone, then you make sure you deliver it right. Otherwise, it will come across in completely the wrong way.
Yeah, I think the power of silence straight after that is really important as well. If you say, I shouldn't really be doing this, to be honest, and allowing that silence, because sometimes you get the affirmation or some sort of engagement from a customer too.
But also so that they can process what it is that you've told them.
Yeah.
If I've made it very clear that there are only a limited amount of availability, then I need you to then go away and think about it, which is why we should sit quietly after that.
So how would you deliver informational for the last part?
Well, information, I would always use the phrase about keeping your powder dry. I was very guilty of giving too much information because of my excitement of just giving. So I would tell everybody about everything, all the elements of what we do, and actually I don't need to.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the power of what you don't know about something, that's exciting. That builds a feeling of like excitement around, well, what else is there?
Yeah.
It's like, I personally don't watch trailers for movies for that very reason. My wife Amy will watch every trailer. She's watched the whole film. Whereas I prefer that bit of informational scarcity. I don't like to know who's coming. I won't watch what's coming next. So I like the opposite. I like to know very little now. Whereas I think, but again, that comes back to the behavioural style.
For sure.
So maybe guys, just with the sort of the 5 minutes or so before we wrap up, any questions? So that goes to Facebook as well. Has anyone got any questions that they want to ask us? Perhaps even suggest how they think maybe they could build in some level of scarcity or exclusivity into their products, their services, their businesses. Who involved in the session today? How can you deliver scarcity based on what we've been speaking about? So anyone got any questions?
And again, the 3 areas we've got: FOMO, so fear of missing out. So how can you build up availability within your sales process? Exclusivity, or actually getting a bargain, or something we haven't really touched on, is giving a sort of add-on to your package, or what we'd call a value add. So is there anything around what you offer, how you can actually cover one of them three? So FOMO, exclusivity, or getting a bargain.
Well, when you say add-ons, what do you mean?
So
how's that in scarcity?
Let's say, for example, we've got our boot camp. This one this week obviously is, you know, full and people on there. Let's say the next one with May. You know, the May one's going to be a couple of months away. Obviously, you're really looking for results now. This is where you can drop into your secrecy as well. Over the next 2 months, we do have a program that delivers content, you know, 365, 24/7. What I'll do is I'll actually provide some access into that, so you can have some training on the run up to the boot camp. That's why when you're sitting there for 2 days, you've already got some information that you've been working on as well. If I was to arrange that for you, is that something that would, you know, help your business moving forward?
So is that time-bound scarcity? Like it's only so that add-on, the academy with the boot camp, that's time-bound.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we have a date to work towards.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So sometimes that allows some access on the run-up.
Yeah, so they can, so like we've got April said, I think for real estate I'd have to offer some sort of add-on. Mandy has said, I lend out my spare water filter for 2 weeks. I'm thinking creating a roster that could create some scarcity around that. If you have a natural, like a physical thing that you only have a limited number of, then there's natural scarcity. You've just got to let the other person know that and say, well, I physically only have, you know, I have access to a limited, you know, in real estate, if it's about, you know, a mortgage broker a lot, but there's only one that I deal with, their diary is pretty full.
Yeah.
So I would like to get you in sooner rather than later, because the spots will fill up. So I think there's always the ability to be able to sort of value add inside of that. Yeah.
Even on that, Mandy, as well, placing some value around the water filter over the course of 2 weeks. Like, what is the value over a fortnight of using that product for the customer? So you're normally valued at X. What I'm willing to do over the next 2 weeks is allow you the ability to use that, so you can actually see the results for yourself. So you're actually building up value before offering.
Yeah. We've got someone in the event space here, so whether that be you know, bookings, you know, an understanding, specials, like things that are you know, that are coming up. Also, how busy the whole, you know, if it's a place for venue, like well, we've already got places booked up. You know, wedding venues, I mean, they have their own. They're booked out years in advance. Yeah, like concerts, like people that go and see. Oh, should I say gigs? Because concert makes me sound old.
I think
rock
gigs
concert,
is old too.
Yeah, but you know, they sell out in a long time. I used the. I remember when I was 15, I went to see Eminem, and it was announced that it would be one of his last ever tours.
How old are you now?
How old am I now? 35. It was 20 years ago. And he's still touring, but yet it whilst it didn't make me want to go, it didn't stop me from not wanting to go.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Give
like
you the
I
reason
actually,
to.
it gave me the reason to ask my parents, you know, permission to go, because they weren't too happy about me going to see Eminem at 15. But it was like, well, he may never be here again, and I suppose that's the. I mean, we've tossed and turned with the idea about Training Tuesdays, you know, about whether we do it weekly, monthly, fortnightly, and I guess the scarcity around that. But you know, I suppose that also comes down to how often we do it, and is there too much of something? I mean, you can never have enough of Training Tuesdays, but is too much of something enough? And can you somehow build into your sales process a level of exclusivity? Not everyone can manage it. You know, like we do that with our, you know, and it's genuine moral and ethical alignment. You know, we're not here to manipulate.
We're with everyone.
Yeah. What's the other one? So we have two prerequisites.
So morally and ethically aligned, and also a growth mindset.
Yeah. So what about the growth mindset? Why is that important? And in creating scarcity around people that maybe don't.
Because that's not for everybody, but obviously understanding that there's a certain, I guess, avatar of people that we work with as an organisation. So having somebody with that growth mindset and willingness to learn, create scarcity, but not for us, but also for the customer, because they want to obviously buy into that too. You know.
So knowing your niche inside of your business will automatically create scarcity around, do you fit into that particular style of person. So, you know, we're not looking for people who are just looking for a smash and grab.
Quick wins.
Yeah, we're not looking for people who know everything.
Yeah.
You know, you get one person in a boot camp that thinks they know everything, and you know, and it ruins it. So in training and hit sessions, all of that. So I think building that into your like ideal customer or ideal client, but again, that's got to be mentioned early, because if at the end and they say, well, I don't really think it's for me, and you go, well, you don't fit the profile.
Yeah.
I don't want you anyway.
Start sandbagging it.
Yeah, you don't want to be sandbag. You don't want to sandbag it. So that would be my biggest takeaway for people to go away with, is that you have to build it in. It has to be a seed, watered over time, and then not just you know smashed in at the end because you haven't made a sale or someone hasn't decided to go forward. So that would be my biggest one. What about you? Or was that yours?
Yeah, that was mine. Yeah.
Stole your idea. So maybe in the chat for the last couple of minutes, what are people's biggest takeaways from today? You know, what is your biggest thing from scarcity that you feel is most beneficial in your business? Just pop in the chat or on Facebook if you guys. I keep looking over there. Just for those you know, there's a screen there, and I'm looking there, rather than looking at
technically gifted, aren't we?
Yeah, that's it, technically gifted. So do you want to summarise what we've spoken about today?
Yeah, beautiful. So today we've covered scarcity and urgency within the sales process. So inside there we've got 3 whys of why we create scarcity, 3 ways, and also when to deliver the scarcity into your sales process.
Yeah, I think the big thing is about not trying to implement too much, you know, too soon, and think, is there a? I mean, it might not be. You might not have any level of scarcity at all. So, so what we got mention it early, referencing it throughout the conversation genuinely. Yeah. You want to read what Lucas?
We've got Lucas. Sorry to turn from the camera. So you have to experience scarcity in order to understand how to implement it with your customers.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think when, like I said about using when you feel like it's just, like I use that carpet, sell, you know, it's like, I don't believe you, but if I then go, if I then go and say, oh, the sales ended, then, and that's why we have on our website, for those of you who might notice it, want to buy a ticket to the Swish Summit, we leave the old pricing up there with a line cross through it for a reason. Why do we do that?
So that'll be on a staggered system. So we had an early bird special up until Sunday where people could save essentially $50 on either of the ticket prices. But the reason we leave that is again understanding that there's been a sale on that process, and you know that you've missed out, unfortunately. It's the FOMO.
Like and then like Lucas has said, you're like, well, now I've understood it, okay, maybe I need to do that, and now I want it more. We always really want what we can't have. Like if I know it's limited, that's why those Cokes with the name on it go down so well. Yeah. You know, because it's like, we don't know, like, I don't know if you ever like vanilla Coke, but you know, if it was there, I bought it because it's limited.
Exactly. And I think the big thing is sticking to that. Don't say this is available as an early bird special up until Sunday, and then you speak with a customer on the Wednesday and say, do you know what, you can have that for the early bird special, but then you go and sell it to the next customer for the existing price. You know, let's make sure we keep the integrity and honesty in that as well. Especially
if they are, or you know, even more so if they will interact, because if they don't, then people out there might be tempted to do it, but it's really important that you just don't.
And don't get me wrong, as a salesperson, it's very difficult to do that. You know, when somebody calls back and says, sorry, I didn't pick up the phone last week, but I'd be happy to go for that special you had, and you in everything in your thing is saying, yeah, let's do it, but then you've got to, you know, stick to what you believe. And Lucas on Facebook, he can testify for that. He actually met Ryan in Sydney at the event last week, and you know, his communication on my interaction with him is never felt pressurized. I never falsified any information, and we still have an ability now training you complimentary on a Tuesday. So
yeah, and people respect it, and the right people will come back. You know, for those who are in an early phase of business, or even who've been in business for a long time, I think that they will understand that the right people will always come back. And if you look, I don't mind it when there's limited edition things that you get, and then they come out later on,
Yeah.
because I want to be the first to have it. Like I've done that for like limited edition, trainers and all that sort of stuff. But I understand that. But there's definitely ways to do it, and there's more powerful things to things to do as well. So, it's 5 o'clock our time. We are done. It has gone fast. I could sit here and do this for hours, but we've all got places to go and people to see, family to put to bed. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thank
Chris,
you,
do you want to
guys.
put a bow on it and sign off?
Yeah, beautiful. So have an amazing evening. Look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, 4:30 Queensland
What are we
time.
covering?
Next week we are going to be covering the 8 steps or the 8 macro tones of voice.
Well, we're going to be going over them one by one.
One by one. So
Yeah.
we're not going to go through all 8 as a one-off, but we're going to go through that process over the next few weeks over a series as well.
Excellent. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate your time, and we'll see you again next week.
Have a good evening.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rob Hawks.
I'm Chris Blackburn.
And next week on Training Tuesdays, we're going to be covering advancing, the tool of influence to future pace your clients into the product or service you have. See you there.